Well, did you know that Apple is cracking down on several smartphone apps after discovering that they might be tracking you without your consent? Here with more on how this could impact you, we have tech expert Dave Hatter here. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Jessica.
You know, when you hear that and you see this big graphic behind us,
the big eye, the
it can
all-seeing
be,
eye.
yeah. I mean, should we be really worried about this? I feel like we should be.
Yeah, I think you should. I mean, here's a case where any app, any website you're using can capture information, right? That's partially how they work. If you want to buy something online, it needs certain information. But this is a newer technology called Session Replay, where the apps themselves on your phone or your tablet are literally tracking everything you do, not just the information you type in and hit submit, but it's capturing screenshots as you use it. It's a technology called Session Replay, and as you're going along, it's basically potentially taking a screenshot of every single thing you do.
That's on your screen. So say
Yes.
I had one of those apps open, and say they decided to open my notes, and it had a credit card number on there, password.
Potentially, yes, it can capture anything that's on the screen if the other app is still running, and that's part of the problem with this. And it's been found out by various companies who are trying to check into this type of privacy and security violation. It's a violation in my mind. I mean, there are legitimate uses for this sort of thing, but the problem is you have companies like Air Canada, Hotels.com, Expedia, Abercrombie & Fitch who are implementing this technology, but there's no notice in their privacy policy. And I realize most people don't read that stuff anyway, but there's no way to know this is happening. So as you're using this app, it's literally potentially capturing a screenshot of everything you're doing, even if you never hit the submit button. So anything you're putting in there, it's capturing, and that's part of the problem.
You just mentioned some of those apps, Abercrombie & Fitch app, Air Canada, Expedia, Hotels.com, and those are just a few?
Just a few. At this point, again, it's no one really knows how many of these things that are out there. The Air Canada thing has come up because they've actually had a breach related to this technology. So there are numerous companies that make this, Glassbox, Appsy, Mixpanel, and as a result of this technology implemented in Air Canada, in theory, as it's taking the screenshots, sensitive information like your passport number is being blacked out, but that hasn't always been lined up just right, and some of that information leaked out on about 20,000 Air Canada customers. So in my mind, this is a real problem because people just don't know what's happening, and thankfully Apple has stepped in and cracked down on it. So far, Google's kind of had nothing to say about this because Android apps can do this too, but at least Apple is basically going to force these developers to say we're doing this, or make them take it out or take their apps out of the App Store.
Now we know that Apple is cracking down. What do we do in the meantime? You know, if we don't know all the apps that are, you know, doing this.
That is a really good question, Jessica. I was afraid you'd ask that because unfortunately, other than try to limit your footprint on apps that you use and websites you use, there really isn't anything you can do because there's no way, other than go out and look for Session Replay and find apps that are using it and make sure you're not using them. There's really nothing you can do because it's not obvious for apps you might be using that are implementing this technology.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for bringing the awareness of it to us because I did not know. Appreciate you being here. We'll put all that information on our website.
I hate to always be such a downer, but you know, this stuff just gets crazier all the time.
Absolutely. It's hard to keep up with.
It is.
Hey, let's talk to Rebecca really quickly. We are seeing some issues.